they're changing my voice. They're fuming and poisoning me because they know that I'm right. This video is about my offer to them, okay? And keep in mind that I'm no longer going to negotiate with them over small things. There are some things that were always non-negotiable, and they always will be non-negotiable. And this video is about why I'm no longer going to be diplomatic with them. So, before I read the paper, let me highlight some key ideas and some key parts in the paper real fast here. There's a thin line between crucifying Christ and suppressing him. There's logic that determines my decisions. Okay, there aren't emotions that determine my decisions. There's logic that determines my decisions. That's key here. And the third thing, real fast here, is this part of the paper. They are causing the masses of people in rebellion and on their side to suffer more. So why do I have the upper hand here? Because they are causing their families, themselves, and the masses of people in rebellion and on their side to suffer more, and that's before they even go to hell. So they're not in a position to make demands. I am. They're not in any bargaining position. Their time's up for that. And this paper is about why their time is up for that, among other things. Clearly, I'm in charge. Power, pow, ear. God listens to me. The angels listen to me. The Spirit of righteousness listens to me, not them. So I have the power, the divine power, the true power. So it's titled Mitigation Offer, My Offer for the Hopelessly Defeated Human Race and Their Laughable and Retarded Governing Class. We know them by their work, by their works, and they're retarded. Point number 1. I warned them for years and they refused to take it seriously. They refused to stop acting like organized homosexual rape cult scum, so now I will just dictate. And it's more than just gays who are in rebellion. That is why this is being put this way. Point number 2. The smartest people that ever lived believed that there was a God, secretly or otherwise. This is key here, right? How can you even estimate my value or the value of a monotheistic person if you're not monotheistic, right? If you don't truly grasp that idea, if you don't truly see God, then you're not even smart enough to do a thorough estimation of somebody. If you think about that enough, you'll see that I'm right. So again, the smartest people that ever lived believed that there was a God, secretly or otherwise. Point number 3. The governing class and the leaders of America, Israel, and Europe have the most to lose by not obeying my commands, as they are not smart enough to immediately give me governance power over the world on a world level, worldly level, kind of, a governance level in that way, right? I will make this offer for mitigation. Since they so arrogantly refuse to swallow their child molester-derived pride, they will be punished for eternity with their families. The question is how much? Point number 4, 189,000 people die every day, and the majority of the world does not want the Son of God to be persecuted for no reason. Point number 5, their governance is laughable in the fact that on top of all the less important things that they do wrong, which are unbelievably outrageous as it is, they have chosen to persecute me like psychotic, childish, child-molesting worms. They even think that it is smart to compare me to Hamas when I have the clear-cut upper hand. Right? Most people believe that Hamas doesn't have the upper hand, right? Okay, so when they're talking to me, they draw parallels with Israel and Hamas, right? But this is not, that's not a valid parallel to draw. Because in that kind of conflict, most people believe, again, Israel magically has the upper hand against Hamas. Okay? And on some basic levels, perhaps that's the case. I'm not so concerned with that conflict. But when we're talking about me and the governing class clashing, like you see in the paper I made on the clash when I described it. Okay, I'll put that link in the description if I remember. You see that I have the upper hand. And it's clear. Okay. Point number 6. Even a child should be able to tell you that when the most righteous person that ever lived comes to earth, and you have conceded this by the exact way you persecute me, right? That he is ready to die on the drop of a hat for God. Torture won't move him. Torture won't move me. I am on God's side, and people are going to be judged according to their deeds. So even a child should be able to tell you that I'm not going to budge, that I'm ready to die for God on the drop of a hat. Okay? The people in the governing class are not willing to do that on the drop of a hat. The people who follow their orders, right? They're earth huggers, right? They only are concerned about their petty emotions and things of this world, things that don't really have value. So when you look at the clash, it's between people who are some kind of punks and the person who's the most willing to die for God that ever lived. One way to understand this is, first of all, just because somebody's related to somebody who's a great warrior, who's a good person, okay, doesn't mean that they're going to be good, right? We see that with Cain and Abel, what have you. Okay, the Lord is a warrior, God made man in his image, and here comes Cain at some point, he's a bad guy. I say this because when we look at Muslim martyrs, what makes them really want to blow themselves up? What gives them that kind of passion? It's a black African passion, right? Africans spilled over into the Middle East. They established Babylon, right? We see that in the Bible. It's something that was thoroughly understood before Christ. Hundreds of years before Christ, they understood that black people colonized the Middle East and established Babylon, right? Ham begot Cush, Cush begot Nimrod, Nimrod founded Babylon. So what really gives them that power, to be willing to die on the drop of a hat is the idea of this mighty African Cushite warrior called Nimrod, who was a mighty warrior for the Lord. Now, I'm the essence of that idea. Okay, and I'm righteous. I'm not a Muslim martyr. I'm not a terrorist, not this, that, and other thing. I'm a righteous person. So when you look at this, you look at the most determined person ever, the essence of being the king of the martyrs, the king of kings, the top martial artist ever, the martial art master of masters. And there's some kind of corporate corrupt worms, some privileged cowards. They are way, way outclassed. God is on my side, and I'm the top martial artist ever possible. So how the hell could they possibly have the upper hand? They don't. Life is more than just the flesh. That's why you cut off your fingernails. You trim your fingernails. You cut your hair, right? The skin, you shed skin all the time. It's symbolic of the flesh. Isn't the most important thing. Even snakes shed their skin. Even a snake knows that there's more to you than the flesh. That there's an essence of who you are. A soul, a core. In that sort of way. So they do not have the upper hand. And for them to talk to me as if they do shows that they're retarded. The masses of people in the world do not want them to talk to the most righteous person that ever lived that way. They do not want them to plan the future of the world building on persecuting the most righteous person that ever lived. So God doesn't want them to do it. The masses of the people don't want them to do it. Many people in their families almost certainly do not want them to do it. And on some level, they know what they're doing is the dumbest mistake ever. Pretty straightforward. Point number 7. Billions of people respect me infinitely more than they respect the governing class, and they believe my explanation of things more. They are just afraid to die and lie to themselves like drug addicts that cannot quit their behaviors. So people believe me. Just because they're stuck in their ways doesn't mean they don't believe me. They do. They heard this part of this speech, this explanation. They would know beyond a reasonable doubt that I'm right. Because righteousness is greater than wealth. Righteousness is greater than everything else. And before, whether or not they know of me here, they know of the idea of Christ. The Abrahamic faith, the Messiah. Isa in Islam. Christ to the Christians. Horus to those in Egyptian mythology. They know about the top martial artist, Son of God. And they respect me infinitely more than everybody else. There's no other way to look at it. Point number 8. Already over 310 million people have died in the last 5 years alone. And they've gone to hell, including over 7.5 million rich people and their immediate family members. They died in pure rebellion against God, and how much they failed is partially determined by how much I am persecuted. Think about that. They died in rebellion against God. Now, how much they deserve to suffer has to do with what happens as a result of their actions, not just what they did leading up to their death. For example, if you're driving drunk and you hit somebody and they die, that's added to your crime. If a cop catches you, he doesn't just charge you with a DUI, he charges you with a felony, of murder, manslaughter, whatever, vehicular manslaughter. And so it is with your forefathers. So it is with your dead loved ones. The more you persecute me, it's also a result of them and their wicked actions and them being slack in their work, and that will be penalized against them as well. That'll be charged to them as well. You don't have the upper hand. I do. Clearly, mitigation is the only route for the governing class, and they have way more to lose from not obeying me than I have to lose from not obeying them, as I am ready to die anyway, and they are basically all just selfish cowards. So again, they have way more to lose from not obeying me than I have to lose from not obeying them. How the hell would that give them the upper hand? It doesn't. Most of them have some care for their family members. That factors in too. I am willing to sacrifice everyone on the planet on the drop of a hat, including myself, and the vast majority of them aren't. And they make decisions collectively, right? I definitively have the upper hand. And they are causing the masses of people in rebellion and on their side to suffer more by not surrendering, or at least mitigating by accepting my offer. Point number 9. I am not going to follow them or pretend to be gay or surrender under any circumstances. My requirements must be met, or the end will come in a way that they do not like, not because of violence, but because of the logic that goes far beyond killing everyone on the planet. Under no circumstances will I take off the armor of God or put down the sword of the essence of Scripture. You Satanists have lost, and there is no way for you to win. Now mitigate, and there will be some mercy on your souls and your family souls, or surrender to my leadership so that you can go to heaven. Otherwise, there will be eternal punishment in a way that no words can describe, as the countless horrible things you have done will be considered. Things that are no comparison for how much people have missed out on by itself from not obeying God through me. They've lived laughable lives. They've taken all kinds of hits before they even, are marshaled to hell. The accompanying suffering that has occurred from their rebellion. Not to mention the amount of punishment people are already experiencing, as countless of them have met their Maker in disgrace. Also consider your ancestors, as the Bible says. Where are they now? Okay. So point number 10. In the last 16 years, I have given up more than I would give up for the rest of my life if I lived to 120 carrying my cross. So again, someone's driving away right now, so let me go ahead and say this again here. I'm saying this with my window down in public. I'm not moved in the slightest by the New World Order or their minions that they send every day. Point number 10. In the last 16 years, I have given up more than I would give up for the rest of my life if I lived to 120 carrying my cross. That's to do with the value of the best years of your life, second best years of your life, what have you. And also, carrying my cross is also another way to look at it, is that if I lived 120 years old, wearing the armor of God with the sword of the Spirit. So why on earth would they think that I'm in a position to magically give up, right? If I've already given up those things that have to do with living in the flesh, okay, that are more important than those things, in the last 16 years, than those things, that would be in the next however many years till I'm 120 years old. So, in other words, I've given up having my own house, having an attractive female, having a family, okay, being left alone, what have you. I've endured persecution, okay, and that means missing out on stuff at 27-year-old, 28-year-old, 29-year-old, all throughout my 30s, all the beginning of my 40s, they're gone. I'm 44 now. I've missed out on those things to that degree while still living the greatest life ever possible. So why do they think that I would care about what's left of my life if I live to 120 years old and giving up those things? So I have the option to just die on the drop of a hat. Done. There's not much to look forward to in the future, especially if I would quote unquote surrender or do things their way or follow orders from them or something. Okay, so they have nothing that I want. That's what that translates to. They have nothing that I want. Pretty straightforward. This also goes for the last 8 years, even the last 4 years. So I've given up more in the last 4 years. I missed out on more in the last 4 years that I would miss out on if I kept being persecuted and I lived for the next 120 years. Excuse me, I lived to be 120 years old. I've missed out on more in the last 4 years that I would miss out on if I kept being persecuted and I lived to be 120 years old from now to then. From now to 120. They're fuming me, but you should see what I'm saying. If you have any questions, put in the comments. Point number 11. When one has been significantly crippled by psychological operations, with 23 witnesses on record, mind you, and has been persecuted for 4 decades plus, in the wealthiest country in the world, not to be compensated with no strings attached. Again, with no strings attached is an insult. An insult that drives me forward, with more determination. When the person is me, Christ, the Son of God, and I've logically proven it. See my Proof I'm Christ playlist. It is intolerable, and it won't be tolerated. People suffer more in the afterlife even now because of what they're doing. They are taking catastrophic hits. Hits that take on cosmic proportions from not giving me my rightful place, or at least mitigating to reduce the damage. Point number 12. What kind of maniac... Wait for this other... these maniacs to drive by. Point number 12. What kind of maniac would think that the government or the Pope or some Jewish council or English royals or the governing class should magically rule over Christ? What kind of dumbass thinks that? Can you imagine? Imagine Harry Potter, with a mini skirt and a hat with a propeller on top, saying, well, he has to persecute Christ, because what they're doing is dumber than that. Their insistence is dumber than that. Point number 13. While they are child molesters, while they are aligned to child molesters and or are obeying child molesters, while trying to act tough or manly, the real spirit of being a man and all the souls in it are marshaling them to the fire of chaos, desolation, torment, failure, and disgrace. Now, I'd like to add this point here really quickly at the end. People who think that I should be gay or seem gay are among the dumbest people who ever lived. That also goes for people who think I should be look like Bill Gates or something. They're changing the way I look with fumes and poisons, doing things to the food, which is causing me to lose weight, which is causing my face to get a little thinner. And they think that's smart. Now compare that to what I've discussed in this video and to the paper I made about what's happening as they clash with me. And ask yourselves, is it not clear cut that I'm right? Thank you.